Hello everyone. I have a question for you. Are you thinking about having kids? You thinking about getting in the family way? Having a litter of little pups, little versions of you running around? Well, I have some advice for you before you make your final decision. Be sure to read the book we're going to talk about today first. And you just might be changing your mind. Before we get started, I want to remind you that I have books for sale, and if you want to read any of the books you see on your screen, you can do so at the link in the description. Now let's get this video started. Alright, so the book I want to talk about today is called The Vile Thing We Created by Robert P. Ottone. This is an amazing book about the deepest, darkest corners of having children. And first of all, let's talk about that title, okay? Because that title is amazing when you're dealing with something like having children and then using the word vile in the title. That's just that just satisfies my horror little heart. I just really love the title. I wanted to get that out of the way. But this book is kind of like a cross between Rosemary's Baby and The Omen, just without all the religious significance of The Omen, you know, with Damien being the Antichrist, but kind of in that vein. And I don't really think this one's, it's not especially fast-paced, but it is paced very well. More of a slower burn, but not really quite in that category of being too slow, if you know what I mean. Because it builds up. And as it's building up, as the story goes on, it just gets creepier and creepier, and it's filled with so much dread and tension that you can almost not stand it until the big explosive conclusion. And here's the thing about slower burn horror. I actually love it if the payoff at the end is worth it. Sometimes I've read books that are kind of slower burns, and I didn't think the ending lent itself that well to that slower pace. But this one, trust me on this, man, it is fantastic. I absolutely loved it. This is about a couple who decide to have a baby. All the rest of their friends are having babies, and they feel kind of left behind because they're only hanging out with other parents. And so basically they're kind of ostracized from their former friends. And so they decide to have a baby. And almost right away, it becomes very apparent that something is not right. They do not feel anything for their child. At one point, the mother even says in this book, talking to a therapist about some of these issues they're dealing with, that she hates the child. And of course, everybody thinks it's postpartum depression or just the stress that having a baby will do to you, you know, all the changes in your life you have to go through for that kind of thing. But they start finding themselves in really impossible situations, very terrifying nightmares. And even in their waking moments, they are experiencing things that are technically impossible, and they all seem to be centered around the baby. Now, this book does take us through several years of this child, starting from its birth and then till about its a toddler's age, about 5 years old. And the parents just find themselves doing the things parents do out of, just out of a ritual. Like they know they have to feed the baby, they have to take care of the baby. They're more worried about what other people would think if they didn't do those things than actually taking care of this child, because they feel no connection to it whatsoever, and the kid's a little bit creepy, let's put it that way, and gets worse as time goes on. But this book was so very effective when it's dealing with this the subject of childbirth, and what because it starts out like they're just concerned about things you would be concerned about, like real life things changing for you when you decide to have a baby. but then it becomes apparent that something much more malevolent and much more horrifying is actually going on. And I don't want to give anything else away, because I think the less you know about some of these things and what it's leading up to, the better off you are. Because this is just a very much engrossing, fantastic novel. It absolutely nails the very dark side of having a baby. And it does so in such a way that, like I said, the tension just keeps increasing and increasing and increasing. In fact, most books that are slower paced, I usually takes 3 to 4 days for me to read them. But this one I did in 2 sittings, because at the end of every chapter, I wanted to find out what exactly is going on. How come this happened? How could that happen? That's an impossible thing. That shouldn't happen. And yet it did. And you're just going to love this book. I'm telling you right now. It's got a creep factor of 11. I absolutely loved it, and of course I highly recommend it to you. And there is a link down below where you can purchase your copy, The Vile Thing We Created, right through Amazon. And as always, I want to say thank you for taking some of your time and spending it here with me. And until we meet again, keep reading spooky, my friends.